My dear family, our veteran immersion program participants. We've talked about a lot, especially the last couple of weeks. The tragic events that have occurred have been a very stark reminder of how fortunate we are as a nation to have brave warriors like you who bravely and selflessly volunteer to go to the most dangerous places on earth on our behalf to bring peace. We are eternally grateful for your sacrifice. And yes, of course, we say thank you for your service. More than that, and you know this through our actions, that we're fully committed to helping you in every way that we can as you transition from the military, knowing how difficult transition can be and how important mentoring and guidance is. That is why the ViacomCBS Veterans Network exists. When we talk about the most precious and limited resource that all of us have, it's our time. So first and foremost, Bob, thank you for being able to join us today. But I also want to thank one of the most dedicated and amazing teams of people that I've ever had the privilege to work with, ViacomCBS Veterans Network leadership team. I'm just so proud to be shoulder to shoulder with you as we work to make a difference in the lives of those we serve. We've spoken a lot over the past few months about dealing with adversity, knowing the difference between situational and repeatable success, navigating the treacherous and difficult waters of transition and change. I can think of no better model of excellence, someone who has lived this more than Bob Bakish. From his days as a partner at Booz Allen to his first day at Viacom over 25 years ago, he's remained laser focused as he served in dozens of critical leadership roles, facing difficulties, challenges, and change at every turn. There are a few leaders who can say that they've shaped an industry, reinvented a company, bootstrapped their way to the top, came up through the ranks, earned the respect and trust of everyone along the way, led with purpose, with heart, inspiring and force multiplying along the way. My dear friends, it is an honor and a privilege to welcome our ground commander, the Chief Executive Officer of ViacomCBS, Mr. Bob Bakish.
Thanks, Rich. And let me start by thanking all of you for your service. It's worth saying, it doesn't go without saying. My ability to sit in this office, have dinner with my family, our employees' ability to be with their friends, et cetera, is a function of the hard work you and your colleagues have done over many, many years. Understand that we deeply value that. And again, thank you for your service. And thanks to Rich, not only for his work as leading tax, which by the way, he's very good at, but also for doing everything he does on the veteran side, working with Betty and others to make a difference. So thrilled to be able to spend time with you today.
Bob, obviously we've prepared some comments, but I think as you listen to this group and where they are in their career and transition, your experience with change and transition and how that really is a lifelong process. Perhaps give us your thoughts on that as a life strategy for how you deal with personal challenges around transition and change, and then obviously from a professional perspective.
I do have a direct connection to the military in that my nephew did 2 tours in Iraq. That was scary having him over there, and a bunch of his friends didn't make it back. And so what you guys do, again, is important. And, to Rich's point on change, you're at a place where, you're changing. Some of you are further along than others, presumably, but from, military occupation to, for lack of a better word, a business occupation. It might be creative, might be transactional, whatever, but it's obviously a big change. And I didn't have to go through that kind of change. Certainly I got an engineering degree, then went to work. That was a change. Then went back to business school. That was a change. Then I got in the consulting business. That was a change. In fact, navigated that and ultimately ended up at Viacom in 1997. And that was a change. So changes, and then through my career here, we've gone through all kinds of change. I ran our international business for a decade, and that was lots of change organizationally, from a product standpoint, commercial standpoint, et cetera. And there's a cliche that the only constant is change, but I think it's right. What I've learned about change is you really have to embrace it because it's kind of futile to fight it. And the people that I see that are successful do exactly that, which is embrace change, which is easier said than done because change is unsettling. You don't know what's, coming next. You don't know what's on the other side. You might not know how to do all of a sudden what you've been asked to do, but it is like a fact of life. But the commonalities are, have intellectual curiosity about it, spend time at it, burn candles, if you will, so you can learn about it. Recognize that you don't know it, so ask for help. You might have a network you've built over time of people you can turn to. So it's okay if you don't know when you're confronted with change. Ask. What I found about human beings is they love to be asked about something they know. I mean, it was always amazing to me when I was in the consulting business, which granted was 25 plus years ago. You'd go, maybe I'd go to an ad agency and start asking people about what they did and their clients. And they would tell me so much. People love to talk about what they do. And so as you embark on change, take advantage of that. And I guess the last thing I would say about it is, recognize that there is success and failure. And for sure, over a career that spans decades, you're going to make some mistakes. It is inevitable. It's not because you're bad. It's not because you're dumb. It might be because you got unlucky, but it's going to happen. Don't let that totally demoralize you. I mean, certainly take stock of it. Why did it happen? Learn from it, but recognize that. And again, hopefully, as you go through change, you'll have more successes. I think overwhelmingly you will, but study those too. Why did that work? What do I learn from that? Because at the end of the day, what a career is about really is about learning. I talked to one of the interns from, call it the general intern program, wanted to do a Zoom with me. And so I did it last week. And one of the questions that was asked was about work-life balance, which I thought was, it was an interesting question. And what I said was, there's kind of two answers to that. The first part of the answer is we should aspire to have a work-life balance. No question about it. I said, but the second part of the answer is you need to invest. And you're not investing in the company per se, you're investing in yourself and learning. And that takes time. Learn the craft skill. I can run a spreadsheet, and I don't run that many anymore, but I can look at financial transactions. I can look at multiples. I can look at ad sales. I can give you chapter and verse on how advertising works, how upfronts work, why the dynamics are what they are, what you want to try to do. Why? Because I was born knowing it? No, I spent a lot of time working on it. But all of that is influenced by time spent learning. And that goes back to this intellectual curiosity, because that's what you got to do. Because ultimately, to be successful, you got to be a good person. You got to pass the airport test, all of that. But you got to be the person people depend on. That is the key to success, in my mind. Certainly the key to my success. I can give you plenty of examples of that. I remember one of the bosses I had, Tom Freston, said once when he put me in as a COO of ad sales, which was a big change from running business development. And I said, I don't know about that. I don't really know ad sales. And he said, well, you know more than you think because you've been around it for a while. But more important, you're smart and you'll figure it out. And that is the essence of change. You got to just dive in and figure it out. So I would just say, look, change is a fact of life. Embrace it, go after it, learn from it, good and bad. And ultimately, you'll learn to enjoy it more.
Those words resonate deeply. In the military, we learn that it's important to be tactically and technically proficient, right, at our job. And you described that early in your career, and then you were able to then, as you moved up to the ranks, you're able to use those skills in a different capacity, right? You're not creating things from whole cloth, but you're providing insights. And that really, moving through the ranks, it's really about leadership. Some of those intangibles, right, that are so critical for running a business and keeping the consistency, and they're reflected in our company's values, right? I look at them as really leadership values. Maybe talk about those as, a life view, for this group, because obviously, as the military teaches you technical things, but it's all about leadership, individual initiative, because that's really the critical thing. That's the thing that carries the business through dark days. And those values, I know, are not just words on a page to you.
Optimism to me is super important. Another one of our values that I really believe in is inclusivity. And I really saw this at scale for the first time international. Going back to, there's no one person that knows everything, particularly for a media company that serves consumers all over the world of every, possible, call it shape and size, right? You need people that reflect that inside. And one of the things I really learned international is great ideas really can come from anywhere. That's why, we've put tremendous amount of work on driving inclusivity as part of our culture, because it actually drives better business performance. Again, is it the right thing to do? Sure, it's the right thing to do. what do? I run a publicly listed company for shareholders. At the end of the day, they want us to create value. And guess what? The two things are totally correlated.
So I think what I'd like to do now is we had the question and answer section. So Melanie, why don't you? We'll give it to the Marine first.
Oh, thanks, Rich. Bob, a lot of us here are creatives, are filmmakers, writers. My question is, following the company motto of content is king, what advice do you have, probably from a larger perspective, for aspiring writers who want to create original content for ViacomCBS?
Yeah, so I'd say a couple things. First one is a general rule, not just for creatives. Got to start with focusing on what you know credibly, because you got to build credibility in the space. And then as you do that, what you want to do is gradually expand that space. Don't start with a really wide thing, because when you start wide, you're inevitably going to talk about some stuff you don't know. And most likely you'll damage your credibility. And most importantly, you'll damage your brand. What you want to do in a career over time, regardless of where you are and what the job is, you want to build your brand. When you get to creativity, you got to be passionate about it. When people have you across the table, they want to see passion, particularly in storytelling.
So that being said, I'm curious, with your years of experience surrounding our media and entertainment industry, what do you find the most challenging about working in media and entertainment? And secondly, what would you say is the most thrilling or gratifying in this industry?
What is hardest about media entertainment, certainly today, but I could argue it would be the same thing if you rewind the tape, because there's been other versions of today, is how do you, I use the word ensure or create success in a changing world, right? When I was COO of ad sales, and it was cable ad sales, and it was that period of change where viewership had migrated significantly towards cable, but the ad business hadn't sort of evolved at the same pace. So fast forward to today, what are we dealing with? We're dealing with the change writ large in consumption, linear to streaming, for lack of a better word. And there's a lot of challenges associated with that. But it's the same thing. When we acquired Pluto, and we obviously thought it was an opportunity. We knew why we were doing it, all that. And I went on CNBC. And one of the things we said, I can't remember if I did it that day or pretty quickly that after, like, we believe this is $1 billion business in a couple years. And people thought we were out of our mind. Guess what? This year, 2021, Pluto's crossing $1 billion, which actually is a year ahead of the spreadsheet we had, which people thought we were crazy. That's a great feeling. We believed in something, we bet on it, we executed well, and we delivered. So the challenge was trying to figure out what to do and how to navigate that. The joy was delivering the results.
First of all, thanks, Bob. Man, this is awesome, phenomenal advice. How is ViacomCBS giving a platform to diverse voices in front of and behind the camera?
So as I said, inclusivity is one of our core values, and we're living it. And to your characterization, both in front of and behind the camera. For example, a couple of years ago, we did this deal with Tyler Perry because he's actually one of the best creatives in the industry. We got screenwriters programs. We got an NAACP partnership at CBS. The writing programs are at Nickelodeon and more broadly. We did the MTVE group kind of stepped up and led in the mental health space and put together really an industry, I guess I would say coalition, but certainly an industry event on it. We are doing a lot. And if you talk to an advertiser like P&G and their chief marketing officer, he'll tell you that part of the reason he does business with us at the scale he does is because of what we do with respect to diverse voices, again, in front of and behind the screen.
Bob, we are so thankful to you for taking time out of what is a crushing and very, very busy schedule to share your journey and your wisdom with us. I know that all of us greatly benefited from that. And so we're thankful. And we're thankful for your support. It really struck me and touched my heart when you shared your nephew's experience and how that was something, along with all that we do, to make a difference as a company. We're not just here to make a living, but to make a difference. And we thank you so much for your support. Without it, we wouldn't be able to do the great work that we do.
We deeply appreciate everything you do, and thank you for your service. It really did and continues to make a difference. As you look forward, regardless of if you work for us or somebody else, focus on two things. Focus on doing great work and doing it in a great way. Because as you do that, you will have an awesome career and one that you can also feel good about.